The Hollywood Beat looks at movies.
Paul Newman is Butch Cassidy, and the Sundance Kid is Robert Redford.
My name is Turner. I work for you. Now listen.
Identify yourself.
What is your designation?
Condor.
Memories like the corners of my mind, misty watercolor memories.
The Natural.
White House.
Howard Hunt, please.
He might be at Mr. Colson's office.
Who's Charles Colson?
I'm Tandy Culpepper.
And I'm Lisa Johnson Mandell.
And Lisa, we're recording this episode the week that Robert Redford has passed away at the age of 89 at his home in Utah, which he loved so much, the mountains of Utah. His institute there was quite involved in nurturing young filmmakers, was it not?
Oh, it was. I attended a few of the sessions at his institute.
No, really?
And more than a few of the parties at the institute. They were great. They were great. He had them for producers. He had them for writers. He had them for actors. He had them for directors. It was really wonderful.
Wow. And what brought you there? Did you have a script?
Well, no, I was living in Salt Lake City at the time. I was a journalist at the time in Salt Lake City. So I had friends, a lot of friends that were involved, and they'd bring me along just, for the fun of it. And I covered some things. I actually, well, I'll get into that later. I was very involved with Sundance and Robert Redford for a while, but in a capacity that didn't involve film.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is a side of you heretofore I was not familiar with.
Yes.
Very interesting. I have only one direct meeting of Robert Redford. There were so many people that I interviewed so many times over the years, multiple times. And I met him only once, and that was for A River Runs Through It, which he directed.
I love that movie.
Wasn't it amazing?
Oh, so beautiful.
Based on Norman Maclean's novel by the same name, and which Norman Maclean came out with when he was 73, 72, somewhere in there. And it was the first work of nonfiction the University of Chicago Press ever published. And I wonder why it took so long for Robert Redford to get his hands on it, because it was out there for a while.
Boy, there's so many things out there that are spinning around, and for different legal reasons or whatever, maybe somebody else had an option on it, who knows? But boy, it certainly spoke to Robert Redford and the person that he was, so involved with nature.
Right,
and
very much so. Montana, fly fishing. And it launched pretty much an actor named Brad Pitt.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Wasn't he beautiful in that?
Yeah. And
talk about beautiful, though.
As beautiful as Brad Pitt was and is, he could not hold a candle to Robert Redford.
Nobody
he
can.
He was one of the most handsome men. And when I walked into the room, you know how the junkets were those days. You would sit outside, wait on deck, waiting to go in for your 5 minutes or 6 minutes, and
in a hotel hallway, because Robert Redford was set it up in a mini studio in one of the hotel rooms. Was it Four Seasons?
It was in New York,
because
I remember this as if it were yesterday. Do you remember Lois Smith? She was Pat Kingsley.
Yes.
Well, Lois Smith was the nice version of Pat Kingsley, who, for folks who are not familiar with these people, PMK at that time, which was owned by Pat Kingsley on the East Coast and Lois Smith on the, excuse me, Pat on the West Coast and Lois on the East Coast. The two most powerful publicists in Hollywood and New York. And so I remember waiting to go in to interview Robert Redford, and Lois was sitting there knitting, if you can picture.
I believe it.
And so you walk in, there's Robert Redford, and he's wearing a run-of-the-mill white t-shirt, beige slacks. I swear to you, they were like Sansa belt or something like that. There was no belt, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like he didn't give a damn. And I thought, who allowed you to walk out of the house with those clothes on? And then I thought, who's going to tell you you can't? And I'm looking at him, and he had to have been well in his 50s by then. And I was looking at him, and I thought, you are the sexiest I have ever seen in my life. I had the biggest crush on him, going all the way back to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I don't know. Did you
Oh,
ever
me
interview
too.
him?
Oh my gosh. Who didn't have a crush on him? And here's
Did
just
you
a weird
interview
piece of
him?
trivia. I dated for a brief while Lois Smith's son. So
No,
anyway, that has nothing to do with Robert Redford, though. Sorry about
nothing to
that.
do with, but it's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yes. Yeah, I did interview him once, and I'm trying to remember which movie it was for. It was for one of the later ones. But no, I used to work with him at Sundance, and this is a bizarre thing. I mean, our listeners and our viewers have heard so many things about Robert Redford by now. They know all the basic facts. So we're just giving you stuff that you might not have known that might surprise you. Okay, you know that Robert Redford owned Sundance, the ski resort, and
Right.
he had restaurants there that he was very proud of. I mean, he used all natural ingredients. A lot of the ingredients they grew on Sundance farms. They were really great restaurants. I don't think they ever had Michelin stars, but they were amazing, and he was always promoting them. And his chefs were amazing too. I mean, they used to get involved in philanthropy that I was working on and everything. They were great. At the time, I was a food critic. I was not a film critic. I was a food critic. And went down to Sundance. I gave them, some decent reviews, did a couple of newspaper features on Sundance itself and all the natural things they were doing and everything, because at the time that was not that common. And so he got such wide acclaim that one of his chefs was being honored at the James Beard House in New York.
Oh,
So, yes, so Robert Redford loved what I'd written about his restaurants, and he asked me to go to New York to cover this big event at the James Beard House, this production of the James
indeed.
Beard House. So I did, and he put me up in I think it was the private club for graduates of Cornell that he didn't go to, but anyway, it was one of those. It was either Cornell or Columbia. I can't remember. One of the ones, maybe it's Columbia. Anyway, he put me up in that hotel, and by then the chef and I were great friends because I interviewed him so many times, and it was really a great night. It was one of the best culinary nights I've ever had in my life, of him at the James Beard House, Robert Redford chefs, and he was there, and it was
All
just
these sides to you that
yeah.
I'm just learning for the first time. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I've done a lot of things in my short young life. Ha ha. Now,
There you
something else
go.
that people might know about Robert Redford is in accordance with his Sundance ski resort, he had a line of clothing. a
No.
really
And the
upscale
best he could
Western
do
wear.
was that ratty white t-shirt and
Yeah,
Sanseville
yeah, yeah.
slacks.
I don't know if he wore his own stuff, but it was a great marketing thing. I mean, it didn't have his name on it, it had Sundance on it.
Right.
And he had stores. I think there was one in Seattle, there was one in where probably Portland. There were several in Salt Lake City, in the Salt Lake area. And I used to do a lot of shopping there. They had beautiful jewelry, and a lot of it was Native American oriented, and they had, Western oriented clothes. And of course, he sold the resort. He sold the Sundance Resort, I think, in 2020 and or so 2022. Anyway, one of those two. And he sold the clothing line and everything, but kept a small interest in it so that he could be affiliated with it. And, his name was on it and everything. And the catalogs were gorgeous because they had pictures of him in it. And you pictured yourself wearing the clothes that he would wear. If he saw you, you thought, wow, he noticed that I was wearing one of his. Anyway, this top is my latest. Sundance, the whole catalog company went out of business maybe 2 or 3 days before he passed away,
You know what's
which is
very odd about
bizarre.
this is that this year also the Sundance Film Institute
Yeah.
or festival is now it's moving from Utah, I think, to Colorado. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yes, Boulder.
isn't that strange that that
Yeah,
would
it
happen
is.
now? And he died not long after.
And he was such a big part of it. I was also involved. I was living in Salt Lake City at the time, and I was involved with Sundance when it was just getting started. And so, for the first, after I think it was maybe the fourth year that it was going, I wrote a lot of the program. Wrote a lot of the summaries of the films, and always worked as a volunteer at the film festival, and had to attend those parties. A bit
Who
of a
doesn't
party
love a
girl,
good
am I?
party?
But it was
I
it was a
was
whole different thing when it started. It was intimate, it was small. They really were independent movies, and I liked it a lot back then. It wasn't half as commercial.
Well, that always makes a difference. Getting back to A River Runs Through It, which incidentally is available on Prime.
Oh,
That
great.
was
Great to
that
know.
was the third film he had directed, which I did not know. Um, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Did I say that
Yeah. Mhm.
correctly?
Yeah.
I guess that's where Sundance came from because
Yes.
he
Uh-huh.
played
His character.
Sundance.
That's
And
why
I
he
did
called
not
his
know
resort
that
after it.
that was based on two true outlaws.
Yeah.
I had no idea. In 2003, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was selected for the National Film Registry at the Library of Congress
Oh, I did not know that either. What better
as,
film?
as one of the greatest Westerns ever made. Here's something. It had a budget of $6 million.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It made 102.6
Well,
million,
not adjusted for inflation, right?
not in just adjusted, but still, if it cost 6 million and it came back and it made 100, I mean, think of the profit margin there.
Amazing.
Indeed.
Well, and he was, I mean, he, a lot of it was due to him. I mean, people would go see anything that involved Robert Redford, and we were never disappointed.
No.
I think in my eyes, and I think it's safe to say in a lot of people's eyes, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. I mean, when you look at somebody who could act and who could direct and who could produce and who could do so many other things with his life and be politically active and really make a concrete difference, I think he was the GOAT of Hollywood.
Yep, I think you're right. he followed the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, with which he paired with Paul Newman. They
Oh,
appeared together in The Sting, and here's something I didn't know: it was the only time he was nominated for Best Actor. I had
in The
no
Sting?
idea. The Sting of
You're
all
kidding
films.
me.
I am not.
I'm
When
shocked.
I read that, I was what? I mean, that can't be. But that's what it said. And then along came 1972 and The Way We Were.
Oh, you love that one. I
I
know you
love that
do.
movie. I'm sorry, I do. It won the Oscar for Best Original Score, and the song that Barbara Streisand immortalized was written by what's his name? Bergman and um, Marilyn Bergman was the wife, and also Marvin Hamlish. Remember
Oh,
him?
wow. Yes.
They wrote the song. It just and that was Sidney Pollack directed that, and Sidney Pollack and Robert Redford teamed up for maybe 6 or 7 films,
Well,
all told, including Out of Africa.
one of my all-time favorite films and scores.
And I didn't realize this, that The Way We Were was based on the novel of the same name. And the guy who wrote it was named Grady. And he based it on his experiences at Cornell, and also a brush he had with the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Ooh,
Yeah, the McCarthy era. Didn't
which
know
is
any of this. Didn't know any of this. So that was hugely autobiographical. And I thought it was just a great love story.
I had no idea either. Wow. One of the things I love about his acting technique is he's so natural. He's kind of low key. He doesn't sound like he's reading lines. He sounds like a real person. He's not doing the big dramatic thing or he just sounds so natural. Speaking of natural, that's one of my favorite movies of his, The Natural. Love that. I have two little funny facts about him. Well, they're not really funny, but they're very interesting and just things that people probably didn't know about him. He attended Van Nuys High School
Oh,
in the
geez.
Valley in Los Angeles area, and he was
And was born
classmates
in Santa
there.
Monica.
Yeah, born in Santa Monica, attended high school in the Valley. He was classmates with the baseball pitcher Don Drysdale. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
a lot of interesting actors and filmmakers and athletes came out of Van Nuys High School. And here are two major roles that he turned down: Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and The Graduate.
He turned down The
He
Graduate.
turned down The Graduate.
I can't imagine it with anyone but Dustin Hoffman. I
No,
don't
me
think
either.
it
He
wouldn't
made
have
that
been the
role his
same.
own.
Exactly. And wasn't that Catherine Ross,
Yes.
who
No,
was
Catherine Ross
also
was
in
in Butch Cassidy and the
Butch
Sundance Kid.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid? Yes.
Yeah. And then, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? We know that Elizabeth Taylor was in that. I don't think he ever
With
was
Richard
in another film
Burton.
with, yeah.
I can't imagine anybody but Richard Burton with Elizabeth Taylor there.
I'm not
But,
sure if that's the role he was up for.
well, whatever. It would be an
Yeah.
interesting thought to see
Yeah.
him opposite Elizabeth Taylor.
Two really beautiful people.
And no kidding. I loved 3 Days of the Condor,
Oh, me too.
which was based on a book called 6 Days of the Condor. And what a cast. Faye Dunaway, Max von Sydow. I mean, it was, and I got to interview Max von Sydow for Snow Falling on Cedars. He was
Oh,
quite the actor. And in 3 Days of the Condor, talk about a chilling performance.
for
Just
sure.
amazing. It was a terrific film. And I remember him coming in to the office where he was a kind of inconsequential CIA employee and finding all his coworkers dead and taking those steps up, uh, you know, to the second floor. I mean, I can still envision this in my head. That was a chilling movie. Oh,
Oh,
Cliff Robertson was also in it.
what a cast.
It was quite a cast.
Oh,
All
and
the President's Men.
oh my gosh. So great. Those political thrillers. Oh,
Yeah. I mean, that one, uh, Jason Robards won Best Supporting Actor for playing Ben Bradley, who was the editor of the Washington Post then. And that came out right after the Watergate scandal. I mean, it was like, boom, the book was written, and then the next year, the movie came out. It was, these are things that if people have not seen them, the films we're talking about, they should do themselves their own Robert Redford Film Festival at home.
boy, that's the
Because,
truth. And, most of his films really stand up. There's some films that you remember liking at the time, and then you go back and watch them and go, ooh, this one really doesn't hold up very well. But I can't think of any of his that don't. I mean, the so many of them. I mean, even Electric Horseman, which was very of the day, back in 1979. So good in that.
that was with
But
Jane Fonda, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah. And okay, how about this? You remember, you know where he started his career, right? In television?
Oh, right.
Yes, he was on Alfred Hitchcock Presents and The Twilight Zone.
I can't see him really on either of those.
I have watched I have watched his episode of The Twilight Zone several times.
Well,
And
they're so
he was so young and
spooky.
beautiful.
I
Yeah.
know
Well, they were creepy. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They weren't really spooky. They were creepy.
and
And
Redford
he did a
came
fine
across as
job.
he played a villain or villainous type character only once, and to my memory, and that was Indecent Proposal.
Oh, that was kind of a dud.
I know it didn't go anywhere. Demi Moore, and I can't remember who the other actor
Woody
was.
Harrelson, wasn't he in it?
Was it
Wasn't he
Woody
her?
Harrelson?
I think he was her husband, I think.
I don't
But
remember.
no, his last movies, he was a bad guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
In yeah. He was Alexander Pierce in Captain America the Winter Soldier and
oh,
Avengers Endgame.
okay. Well, he wasn't beautiful anymore, so he could do that.
No, he was still beautiful. I mean, Robert Redford he was beautiful, I'm sure, to his very last day. I mean, it all depends on your definition of beautiful, but it's like for me, Paul McCartney will always be beautiful.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
But
same kind of thing.
but what I mean is not the matinee idol looks.
Right.
Those. It's. I'm reminded of a poem, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it starts out with, or one of the stanzas is, "She dwells with beauty, beauty that
Mm.
must die." Because it's true. I mean, if you're absolutely gorgeous, um, you are bound to be disappointed in later life because you've got these great looks, and people who are just, average looking. Often as they age, they become more attractive. So
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
strange the way that works. Getting
And you
back
become
to,
attractive, people become attractive in different ways.
yes,
And part of it is because if they've lived their life well, and if they've done so much, that kind of the wisdom and the kindness just radiates from them. And you just think they're beautiful no matter what. I mean,
somebody said sometime by the time you're 50, you get the face you deserve. I don't know who said there or if it's true. Getting back to All the President's Men, in 2010, it was added to the National Film Registry of
oh,
the Library of Congress. And it gave us Deep Throat and Follow the Money, which we hear
oh,
those phrases
yes,
often. Uh,
yes.
so, and that was one of my favorite films. He made his directorial debut in 1980 with Ordinary People, and he won Best Director that year with his debut, and it
That's
won
really
and it won
interesting.
Best Picture. And Mary Tyler Moore got a nomination for Best Actress. She didn't win, but she was nominated. So that was talk about lightning striking right out of the box to be the first time you direct and you win the Oscar, and your movie wins the Oscar for Best Picture. So, shall we talk about the one you and I both think was the best film he ever made?
Oh, we need to. We need to. As part of our tribute to him, we
Out
must.
of Africa. Out of Africa, based on the book by the same name by Isaac Dennison, who was the pen name used by Karen Blixen or
Yes.
Baroness Karen Blixen. But what was it you loved about this film so much?
Oh gosh. Okay. The cinematography and the score.
Oh,
I just rewatched it recently, and I think it's one of the most beautiful scores ever written
well, odd
for a
that
movie.
you would say that because it won the Oscar for Best Score, and John Barry wrote that score. And do you remember when they're flying in the biplane over the
Oh,
Serengeti, and she reaches back and takes his hand? It was so beautiful, and the music comes up. You hear the score building to that transcendent da 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 da. It's just it gives me chills.
me
Just
too. I mean, it just about brings tears to my eyes as you were singing it. I mean,
there's
it's
only one thing I would fault this movie for. It was 2 hours and 46 minutes
yeah.
long, and I think it could have been. I think it could have been tightened up a little bit. 46 minutes beyond the 2 hour mark is asking a lot of an audience. I've read the book, by the way.
Oh, I think we
Loved
need to
it.
mention too, for those people who don't know, that he was co-starring with Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep, and here is uh, something that is surprising. Sidney Pollack. Now, Meryl Streep had not become Meryl Streep by then.
This was one of the
He
ones that made her.
Yes, he thought that she wasn't sexy enough. So she wore a low cut blouse and a push up bra
Oh
to
my
go in
gosh.
for her meeting with him. Now,
Oh
can you
God.
imagine anybody else doing that accent the way she
Oh,
did? And they wanted to make him, have him do a British accent, but Pollock thought no, even though Dennis Finch Hatton, his character, was the son of the 13th Earl of something or other. So he was British aristocracy. I had forgotten if I'd even known that. But their pairing and and Klaus Maria Brandauer was very good too as her husband, the Baron, whom she married. There were so many good moments about this. The way that she related to the Kikuyu tribe.
Oh, wasn't that just moving? That was so.
It was so, the way she would speak, you know, to the chief, the fact that the chief didn't want his son to go to her school because he didn't want the son to be smarter than he was. I mean, the whole thing, I mean, you can remember so much about that movie and her character. And she had been criticized by some for being a racist. And I
In
know,
real
and
life, the real life character?
the real life character.
Wow.
And I thought, no, anything but. Because she, at one point, there's a scene where she gets down on her knees, begging this influential man to keep her farm
Oh my gosh.
for the tribe to have a home. And she had to leave and go back to Denmark. And I mean, it's a very sad story. And oh my
so
God,
sad.
when they're at his funeral, he died at 46, I think. That plane, and she says, he brought us joy. We loved him well. He was not ours. He was not mine.
I sobbed through that. Every time I
No,
watch that movie, I sob through that part.
I know it's just it's it it's just an amazing accomplishment. Not only was it based on Isaac Denison's Out of Africa, but also a 1960 book she had called Shadows on the Grass, which I have not read, and now I'm going to buy it on my Kindle. What
Um,
else do you have to say?
oh, I have a little interesting personal tie to out of Africa. I got some weird ties to almost everything. But when they had shots with them in the vicinity of the lions close together, they
Oh,
were not going to put their major stars in danger of being there. So the people who were the lion wranglers, uh, one of them was a friend of mine.
no.
And she stood in for Meryl Streep. I mean, she was, when it showed the back of her head with the lions there, that was my friend Dory Sitterly. That was not Meryl Streep. And that was her career. And she still does. She still trains dogs and she works with dogs in the movies and everything. Dory is still very active, very beautiful too, just like Meryl Streep was. She was about the same height. She's blonde like her. They were the same build. So she was a perfect stand-in, and she could wrangle lions. So who better to stand in for in that? And then later, I'd say, this way later. This is probably about, I don't know. It was at least 10 years ago. Dory trained my dog because she was a friend of mine. She's so great with animal training, and she trained a lot of dogs for the movies and everything. And we didn't particularly care if he was in the movies, but Dory was so great with animals. She wanted to. She met our puppy and she said, "Oh, I can help you with him." Took her one session. One session to train him, but she had to train us too. I mean, that was a big part of it. But one session to train Frankie, and he was the most well-behaved dog after that forever.
I
So,
have I have one more piece of trivia about Out of Africa. The tribesman who plays the chief and Out of Africa is the grandson of the actual chief.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow.
So, and talk about being a natural actor. So, well, I have
I
run
just
out
have
of.
one piece of one question about it that I don't know if you know the answer to or not. Did Robert Redford actually learn to fly?
I don't know the answer to that, but it
I
wouldn't
need to look
surprise
that
me
up.
if he didn't.
Yeah, I would think he
Although
would.
I can't. I that plane. I just there's no way in hell you could have got me in that. I remember she says, "When did you learn to fly?" He said, "Yesterday. Climb on in."
Yeah, yeah, pretty amazing. Yeah, yeah. I think, don't we both agree that Out of Africa is our favorite Robert Redford film?
Indeed. And The Way We Were is a close second.
Okay.
And then All the President's Men. I love that.
And
Absolutely loved it.
my
Okay.
favorites, in addition to Out of Africa, I love Butch Cassidy and the Sundance
Oh,
Kid, of
Butch
course.
Cassidy. How could I forget that?
Oh yeah. And The
Okay.
Natural. I love The Natural and I love
And
The
The
Sting.
Natural. So, shall we wrap this up?
Yes, one more thing I want to say.
What?
Thank you, Robert Redford, for all the hours and all the inspiration that you gifted humanity with.
Oh, I'm so glad that we have all his films to remember him by. All right. I'm Tandy Culpepper.
And I'm Lisa Johnson Mandel.
Thank you for joining us on the Hollywood Beat.